Well, hello, I am Nicole Danielle.
And I'm Megan Lee, and this is Romance on the Rocks, where two bookish biddies imbibe and enjoy romance novels, which this month we're doing Christmas in July.
Yes, Christmas in July.
Woo! Let's do it.
What are
Love
you
it.
drinking this evening, Megan?
So, anybody who may have been with us for our last episode, which was in the land of fairies, knows that I am currently in the middle of a health challenge. By health challenge, I don't mean my health is challenged. I am doing a challenge for my health. And so I'm no alcohol for a little while. And my book today, one of the main characters is a barista. So I chose to go with coffee. And her beverage of choice was either a peppermint latte or peppermint mocha latte. I just tried to look for it in the book. Can't find it. But I don't particularly like peppermint in my coffee. So we are actually, yeah, I know, very anti-Christmassy. My kiddo loves that kind of stuff, but there's something about it. I just don't want the peppermint in there. So I'm going kind of plain, boring, whatever coffee was in my my little carafe there, which I think might be some sort of hazelnut. It has something a little bit nice and fun in there, but yeah, nice cup of coffee. And how about you, Nicole? Did you make something fun?
I am actually on the same wavelength, Megan, and we did not.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
But I also want to point out it's in the Die Hard Christmas mug that you altered for me. Before I explain what the drink is, explain the history of this Christmas mug for the audience.
I think we need to take a picture of that mug so we can put it possibly on like the website and our Pinterest. It is a Christmas mug. It's vintage, and it was actually made for Die Hard batteries. And so it says Die Hard on it. And if I remember correctly, there are like little bears in the window of a cozy little cottage.
Yep.
But like a good hot-blooded American man, your Bob likes to have that argument of whether or not Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
Yes.
And it became such a big thing that I altered this mug and actually put Hans Gruber in the window of the Die Hard bear family. And I thought for sure that this mug was going to be used once or twice as like a funny little joke. This mug has lasted for years. And when I say I altered it, it is a printout of Hans Gruber on like old computer paper, and it is just taped on with packing tape.
Yeah.
And it's gone through the dishwasher now for years.
Years. To be fair, it typically only comes out once a year, but during the month of December, it gets some use. And when we have guests, I always give it to our guests and wait to see how long it takes them to find Hans Gruber on the cup.
Love that was your choice. My only Christmas mug broke last week.
No!
I keep it out year round. I know. I keep it out year round. It was this really cute Christmas mug that had a Christmas tree and like a cat climbing on the Christmas tree looking all mischievous. Looks like one of my cats, which is why I used it all year round. And it broke. The handle came off of it.
Oh.
I know. So my coffee mug tonight just says oofta.
Well, hey, oofta.
Oofta.
Very Scandinavian of you.
Very. It was as close to holiday as I could get.
Well, in my mug with Hans Gruber, there is a cowboy coffee, which includes equal parts, it's strong, of coffee liqueur, and bourbon.
Oh, okay. So you do have some deliciousness in there.
Oh, it's definitely if I had a cough or any kind of chest ailment, I would say it would be cleared out within a couple of sips of this.
So you are also being healthy, is what I'm hearing. It's a healthy choice.
I'm a little concerned, and I was voicing my concerns to Bob, my husband, earlier today, that I don't typically drink coffee after noon because it just causes sleep problems for me. So I'm a little concerned, but I feel like with 1.5 ounces of espresso, I should be okay.
Well, Godspeed.
Or I'll be up until 4 a.m.
I usually drink coffee right before I go to bed, so it doesn't have the same effect on me, which I feel very grateful for. But, neurodivergent brains do what they do.
Right. I have sleep problems normally anyway because I'm naturally a night owl. It's where I feel the most creative and the most like I can get things done. So
sure,
it's not helpful sometimes when I know I need to get sleep to function in the rest of the normal world.
Who needs it?
Well, I do to function, but
I suppose. So we've got Christmas novels.
Yeah, in July.
In July. I think you get to go first, and I only think that because I asked and had to clarify because I could not remember.
I couldn't remember
You.
either. So.
But you found us the answer, which means when I say I think you go first, I know you go first.
Well, I read Cowboy It's Christmas by Heather Lee Bell, who is one of our favorite authors. And I felt like if I was going to read a Christmas in July book, it was going to involve cowboys. Seemed logical in my head.
There you go.
It is published in 2021, and it falls into the contemporary cowboy romance genre, if you like to pigeonhole things that way. I'm going to try the heck not to spoil this book because I want to respect the author and the fact that it's a newer published book and I don't want to ruin it for people. But I also don't really have any trigger warnings. I was really trying to think if there was anything triggering and I couldn't come up with anything. But if you spot something as we go through, you give me a shout out and I'll mark it in the show notes for the podcast.
Sure. I'll holla at you.
Our main characters are Daisy Carver, the youngest child of Hank and Maggie Carver. Her older brothers are Lincoln and Jackson, who are featured in other romance novels, including Lucky Cowboy, which is actually the book that I read for season 2, episode 8. I didn't even realize the connection when I picked the book, and then I was delightfully surprised. She is a 26-year-old, and I thought this was very unique. I haven't encountered this in a romance novel before, an auto mechanic.
Very good.
Then there is Wade Cruz, Cruz. He is a 33-year-old rodeo star who just had to leave the industry because of a career-ending arm injury. He's now trying to bring his family's ranch back to life, and he is Daisy's oldest brother Lincoln's best friend. Uncle's brother, sister's roommate, whatever. No, he's just her older brother's best friend. I always feel like it sounds so convoluted when you try to give an extended
all the descriptors.
Just as some additional background, Lincoln, who I just mentioned, and Sadie are the couple that were featured in the Lucky Cowboy book that I read and shared on the podcast. And this book actually continues an overarching story from that book, but I still feel this easily can be a standalone book on its own. The plot line. Wade Cruz has just returned home after a life of being on the road as a rodeo star. He suffered a serious career-ending injury of an open compound fracture to his left arm. Ouch! Which I actually really relate to this element since I broke my elbow on my right arm a few years ago, and it was terrifying trying to recover and having to relearn to use my arm for basic functions like brushing my teeth and my hair, and to see if I could even still continue working in the cosmetology industry. And so I completely get, how this could screw over somebody's career. And an arm injury like that is incredibly painful, and the pain and recovery lasts a long time. And that's exactly what Wade is dealing with as he's trying to bring his family's ranch back together, which is a very physically demanding job to do, and he's struggling with the pain. So anyway, someone is a little excited that Wade might be home for good, and that's Daisy. She has always had a crush on him since she was little, and they did share a steamy kiss when she was 18, but Wade got freaked out because, 1, the 7-year age difference at that time, and 2, it's his best friend's little sister. And he plays it off to Daisy like, oh, you're a bad kisser and he's not interested and she should go find somebody else to learn to practice kissing with. And then he actually ends up leaving town a couple days later for his rodeo career. So there's some hurt feelings for Daisy there, but she's still got a thing for him after all these years. Some of the women in town want to bring a reality show to Stone Ridge called Mr. Cowboy. That is essentially like The Bachelor, but featuring a cowboy. They want to do this because the ratio of men to women in their town is pretty staggering. There's a lot more men than there are women, and they feel they need to bring in more new women for the cowboys and ranchers to help them, find wives, start families, which will eventually help ensure the population continues to grow and the future economic balance of Stone Ridge, Texas. Wade is the top choice to be the first bachelor on the show, but he's not really interested.
I was just going to say top choice by whom, because I'm going to guess it's not himself. So yeah, you answered that right off.
Right. It's the top choice of some execs, like some California execs and whatnot, and even some old biddies in town, because he was actually a well-known rodeo star. He was traveling all around the country, so he is known if you move in those circuits, I guess. And then he's an attractive, probably the best looking dude in town. So there's multiple reasons why he's the first choice, I guess. But he's not into it, and Daisy sees her chance, and she proposes to Wade that they pretend to be dating each other so that someone else will have to be picked for the show. And then she can also hopefully show Wade she's all grown up now and ready for the taking. They do tell their immediate family that they're fake dating because it's the holidays and they don't want to stir up any trouble or miscommunications within their immediate families. But as you can imagine, things start to change the more time they spend together, as it does. In the midst of this faux, maybe not faux, romance, there's a couple of big plot points. First, Wade is currently kind of up shit creek. He was sending all of his rodeo winnings home to his dad, who was secretly gambling it all away at the casinos, and he and his mom only found out after the dad died. Then his mom got cancer, and so any money he was making from that point on was going to paying her medical bills. And now he's got his family's cattle ranch, but pretty much no money to do anything with it, and he can't make rodeo money anymore. If he does do the Mr. Cowboy show, the studio execs are offering him a solid amount of money that would actually help him get the ranch back on track. So there's some challenges there.
So yeah, it's tough to say no to that then.
The second big plot line in this book picks up actually from something that came up in Lucky Cowboy, the other book I was talking about. You see, Daisy might not be Hank's biological daughter. There have long been rumors that Maggie, her mom, was a bit of a buckle bunny and had an affair with a rodeo cowboy. Maggie took off and abandoned their family when Daisy was just a toddler, about 2 or 3, and she has been long gone, no trace or hair of her. But the cowboy she had an affair with, Rusty, suddenly showed up in the book Lucky Cowboy, wanting to just see his potential daughter. It was supposed to be a one-and-done thing, but now it's a couple years later, and he's back, and he's dying, and he wants to leave some money to Daisy. But then she would have to know what was going on.
Yeah.
And Lincoln never told Daisy what was happening. He kept it from her.
So she doesn't know.
She has no clue. But now he's got to tell her.
That's...
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm going to stop there with sharing the plot of this novel because I don't want to spoil it, like I said, for anyone who wants to read it. Spice level for this, Meghan, is a poblano. There is sex and a couple of intimate scenes, but they are incredibly brief and vague, far less spicy and descriptive than I would say Lucky Cowboy. I personally preferred the slightly spicier nature of Lucky Cowboy, but it wasn't like it was a bad thing in this book. It just wasn't as spicy. As an example, there's a line about Daisy orgasming. Quote, once more under Wade's skillful ministrations. And they still haven't had sex yet, so she's still technically a virgin at that point. But I have zero clue as to what those skillful ministrations could be. Was he giving her oral? Was he fingering her? Was he breathing heavily into her ear? I don't know. I have no idea.
Does that do it for you? The heavy breathing in the ear?
Yeah, a little heavy breathing in the ear. Oh, baby. I mean,
was that skillful?
Oh my God, yeah. So I have no idea. And I even looked up the definition of ministrations because I was like, I'm pretty sure I understand what that definition is, but maybe I'm missing something. And no, I remembered it exactly correctly. It's just the provision of assistance or care. So I'm like, so he was using skillful care. That still doesn't tell me anything.
I'm going to vote against heavy breathing, but you know.
You get my point, though. It could be anything. I don't know.
I do. Yeah.
So, yeah, gonna give this one a poblano. Things I loved about this book. I, of course, love Heatherly Bell's writing style, and I love a Men of Stonebridge novel. I am definitely here for the cowboys. I like this world that she has built. I appreciated that this tied together some characters and plot points from Lucky Cowboy, and that I got some nice closure on those plot elements that I didn't even know that I needed. I loved seeing some familiar characters and where they were at in their journeys, like Lincoln and Sadie. And as always, I appreciate the realistic and natural dialogue between the characters and the realism of the characters. Also, Heatherly is so easy to read, and I was able to easily devour this book in about 2 days with just casual reading time invested. A little while having my morning coffee, a little reading while in the car while my husband and I were running errands, and then some reading before bed, and boom, it was done. So that was nice. Just a couple of challenges for me with Cowboy It's Christmas. One, Daisy decides to do a DNA test to figure out if these rumors about her parentage are true, which I think she should. But she keeps lying to her family, including her meemaw, her dad, and her brothers, and telling them she decided not to take the test. And I don't like the lying for any reason, but especially to people you love and care about and who love and care about you too, and who even supported her getting the test done. It makes no sense to me that she would then lie about it. I know some people feel that it's okay to lie because you don't want to hurt someone, but I have seen that excuse twisted around so much, and lies always have a way of being found out. And when people you love lie to you, it's a risk of damaging the trust in a relationship, and that can't always be repaired if there's repeated lying. So I'm very much personally, this is my own high horse, I'm very much personally, honesty is best policy, even if the truth hurts.
I get it. Like, I understand for her that probably was a very private, close to the vest matter. And that's difficult to deal with something like that, feeling like it's public. And if you need to go through a grieving process on your own, if you find out results you don't expect, that you may not want that out there for everybody else first. Like, you need to process that yourself. So I get where she's coming from, and I would feel like that'd be a tough one for me, because you have all these people who you do care about, but you also feel like you need that privacy. I don't know. I guess I'd have to, because I didn't read the book, I'd have to see how she actually went about it. But I do understand her feeling of needing that to be private.
And I understand that, and I get her reasoning for it. I just don't agree with it personally, but that's a me problem. It's not that it makes the book bad or anything. It's just I don't like lying. I just don't. Second challenge for me, and this is, again, just a me problem. Wade keeps calling Daisy Peanut. It's a nickname he's had for her since she was a child, but he keeps calling her that even when she tells him she doesn't like it anymore, and points out to him that he uses it especially when he wants to put up a barricade or some distance between the two of them emotionally. The two of them even discuss him needing to find a different pet name for her as the romance between them grows, but he keeps calling her Peanut until the end of the book. And I just personally didn't like it. It just wasn't saying mature romance for me. And I'm like, wait, just find another nickname, man. Stop calling her Peanut.
Nut butter.
I just know so many people with pets who are dogs with the name Peanut. And all I could think was like, oh yeah, little Peanut. Give him a good scruff behind the ears.
Yeah.
It wasn't sparking romantical fires for me.
Macadamia.
Pecan.
Walnut.
Hazelnut.
Oh, Lord. Filbert.
Okay. Oh, good old Filbert. Cashew.
Oh, I'm sticking with Filbert. I think I found the winner.
Okay.
Wait, I got you. Filbert.
Filbert.
It is.
All right, my final thoughts for Cowboy It's Christmas. I think this is a fun cowboy romp and would be a delightful addition to your summer beach read list or your holiday romance list. I don't think it was so overly Christmas that you couldn't read it in the middle of summer.
Which is kind of what we're doing.
Yeah. There's a really solid, well-developed storyline in Cowboy It's Christmas, and it's a great addition within the Men of Stone Ridge series, which I personally love the whole series, even though I've only read a few of the books. I, again, personally would have liked a little bit more of a spicy level in there, like Lucky Cowboy, because that was hitting all the right boxes for me. But I know that's not everyone's cup of tea, and this is still an excellent choice for people who like a softer, slow burn romance. And I do feel that Heather Lee does a great job of writing her novels in such a way that you could probably pick up any one of these books in the series and jump right in and not have to have read the previous books. And thus concludes my review.
And scene. Well, I suppose we can go right into mine.
Yeah, let's do it. Did you go Cowboy Christmas or did you go mainstream Christmas?
I went with this was the Christmas book in my house. So this is what we ended up with.
Okay.
And actually, I'm glad this is what I ended up with. It's called All I Want Is You by Fallon Ballard. This is a fairly recent one. This is published in 2024, so very recent. Our leading lady is Jessica Carrington. She is a struggling romance novel author who helps to make ends meet by working at a local coffee shop as a barista. And I say struggling romance author from the perspective of she's had a couple books published. She's in the process of trying to write another one right now. She's got some writer's block. So that's kind of where the struggle is. She's not supporting herself completely with the craft yet, which is obviously what her aim is. She's always loved the Christmas season and has been trying to use this year's Christmas season to refine that feeling. Because we learn early on that a few years back, she had her heart broken by a fellow author named Nick Matthews. The two had met while in writing classes, became quick friends. They were the only two people in that class who were interested in writing romance novels, and they weren't really taken seriously by their classmates. So they tended to partner up for a lot of editing and brainstorming and things. And as they worked on their craft, they also fell in love. They dated for 3 happy years before things came to an abrupt and inexplicable ending at, you guessed it, Christmas.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. Jess has really struggled when it comes to terms with losing that relationship, especially because there does not seem to be a clear reason why Nick broke up with her. To make matters worse, Nick's books are put out by the same publishing house as Jess's, and he has become a much more successful writer in the genre.
Oh.
Yeah. She is still having to fight to get her stories published while he gets money and resources just thrown in his direction. And the insulting cherry on top is Nick doesn't even write romance novels that have happy endings, which is pretty much sacrilege in the genre. You're looking for the happy ever after, and his don't do that. They give the example, one of his books, you see this romance happening and you're all for it. And then in the end, she decides to marry the man that her family picked out for her instead. It's things like that. It's in the last couple chapters, things just fall apart. And he's got a really big following because it's this romantic drama almost. So there are a lot of people who read his books and love them, but it's not necessarily considered true romance by Jess or any of their cohort writers. Early in the book, Jess is contacted by her agent and is offered an opportunity to present an award for the annual Christmas party thrown by the publishing company. And it is made very clear that saying no is really not an option.
Oh.
Yeah. Jess's career can be helped tremendously by being involved with the ceremony. It gives the execs a face to go with the name, to understand what her books are. And of course, the award she'd be presenting, Romance Author of the Year, would be going to none other than her ex-boyfriend, Nick Matthews.
Oofda!
There goes the oofda mug. There's why we have it. So not only can she not say no because of, the initial thing. But she probably shouldn't say no because she needs to kind of prove to herself that she can do this. But accepting this means she is going to be putting herself through a night of emotional torture and turmoil.
Yeah.
Yeah. Since Jess is pretty much roped into this event, she decides she's going to go dress to kill and at least make Nick regret the breakup. She does not want to play nice. This isn't about making up. She just wants him to suffer a little bit in return for all that she has suffered. She definitely knocks it out of the park when it comes to dressing the part and presenting the award. And in a in a forced proximity, will they or won't they, Jess and Nick get snowed in to the hotel where the award ceremony is being held.
Classic.
Right? Wouldn't you know it? There's also a mix-up with room availability.
Oh,
and they end up having to share not only a room, but one big cozy bed.
Of course.
Yeah. During this 3 days of being snowed in at the hotel, the agents suggest Nick and Jess team up to work on a novel together because they're both working on a second chance romance and both of them are stuck at kind of different points of this novel. And so the agents are like, you two get together, make it one book. So now they are stuck in the hotel together, stuck in the room together, stuck writing a book together. So it's these circumstances. They have time now to confront what went wrong in the past and try and figure out if it's even possible to heal those old wounds. And it comes down to, can they move forward in their own second chance romance, or will this be like one of Nick's books and the ending is just going to be like, wah, wah. And that's where I'm going to leave it. Don't want to spoil anything, but here's my thoughts.
Yes.
Because it was a book with 2 writers in the same genre, it was really interesting because I feel as though Miss Ballard has an excellent point of view. She herself is a romance novel writer, obviously, and interestingly enough, hosts a podcast. She is a co-host on a podcast they interview other romance novel writers.
Okay,
So if
we'll
you're
have to link her show in our show notes.
Yes, please do. The show is called Nice to Meet Cute. Isn't that great? So I think just given, first of all, her own background, the fact that she is constantly talking to other authors, a lot of what is in this book is probably very much personal experience or experience of other friends that are writers. So when she would talk about different things like inspiration for writing or how Jess was writing or how Nick was writing, I'm like, this all seems very real. Here are a few examples that I really enjoyed. So this is Jess. She, when she goes to work, takes her laptop and goes down to like the lobby, gets herself cozy with some coffee and sits in like a public space. I am incapable of working on sex scenes in public. And even though my table is tucked away in a corner, there are too many other people around for me to be able to feel fully comfortable writing about throbbing cocks and peaked nipples.
I mean, I get it.
Yeah, that's valid.
I'd be so freaked out that somebody be like looking over my shoulder and like, what is this lady writing?
Right, exactly. And then she's talking about with second chance romances, trying to make sure the initial reason they broke up seems believable, but also something you can get over. You need it to be walking a fine line. You want the reason for the breakup to be believable. Neither of the characters can do something entirely unforgivable. And even though plenty of couples in real life suck at communicating, readers hate when a simple miscommunication is responsible for the split.
Yes, thank you. Amen.
What? And on the heels of that, there was one more. This is Jess and Nick talking to each other as they're trying to work on this book that they're doing together, and they're trying to get through it. And she says, "You know how you always used to tell me that I rely too much on the miscommunication trope in my books?" And he responds, "And you used to tell me that in real life, couples not being able to communicate was one of the biggest relationship struggles that people have."
Oh,
and I'm like, Preach. I was just like, this is exactly what you and I talk about all the time. And so
ad nauseum.
to have to have an author put it in the book from the perspective of an author, I was like, yeah, that is.
I feel like she gets exactly us, Megan.
She gets it. And then This has nothing to do with writing, but I really liked this. It was Nick trying to explain to Jess, kind of looking at what you have now and being disappointed. I'm not where I thought I should be, because her career is not really where she thought it would be at this point. And he says, my point is, it's easy to keep moving the goalposts, but it's important to remember that the you from 10 years ago would be so thrilled with where you are now. So it's like, even though this doesn't feel like where you need to be, look backward and think, but would the old me be proud of where I got to? This may not be where I feel like I need to be right now, but holy cow, I've made these leaps and bounds. Also, very nice. One thing that threw me with this book, I wasn't sure in the very beginning if I was going to enjoy it. Something about the writing felt a little off. I was like, oh man, I hope I didn't pick a book where I'm not going to enjoy the writing style. That passed very, very quickly. But I realized what it was. This book is in first person. Almost every other romance novel that I have read on this podcast has been in third.
Okay.
You know, her this, her that, him, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
This is I do, and it took me a minute to realize why it felt so foreign. And I went back and went through my stack of books that we've done for this podcast, and there is only one other book that I've read since the beginning of this podcast that was written in first person, and that was Katie Robert, The Kraken Sacrifice.
I was going to say the Kraken one, right?
Yeah, that was the only one. Everything else has been in third person, and so I think that's why it felt a little bit different, and I don't know if that's a more uncommon way to write a romance novel, or if I just haven't somehow made it into a lot of the novels that are written like that. So that I just found interesting.
I feel from my book selections thus far on the podcast, I've had 2, 3 written in first person. And I have to say, from a personal preference, I don't like the first person perspective in general. I've had it handled really well. In our last podcast, the Fae King's Temptation, I felt like, and I pointed this out, it was handled well because the first person viewpoint and wording changed per the character and it was appropriate, so it worked. But in general, I think my personal preference is definitely more third person. How about for you, Megan?
I feel like it's just more common. So I think I'm just used to it because once I got past the first couple pages, I didn't really think about it anymore. It was more the going back and trying to figure out why did it feel awkward for me at first. And that's when I had that recognition that, oh, it was written in first person.
Yeah.
Just a point of interest, I think.
Yeah.
And actually this year I read, unrelated to romance novels, but I was reading a book written in second person, and that is so uncommon that took a while to get into. So I think it's just a matter of familiarity, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, unrelated to any of that, some fun words. I don't think we've had this one yet to talk about her. Meow. Slick heat. I'm just saying.
I mean, it's different. It's interesting, but
it's different. So into her slick heat. And then for you, Nicole, this book, double the fun. On page 14, he pinches the bridge of his nose.
Oh God, so cliche.
And on page 85, she pinches the bridge of her nose.
As apparently every fucking person in a romance novel does.
I'm just saying they bookended it for you.
Okay, well,
he did it, everyone. She did it. It's for all the folks.
Equal opportunity, nose pinching. Right.
Yeah. This book is also written from the perspective of both Jess and Nick. And I did like the fact that Miss Ballard labeled each chapter so you knew who was going to be speaking next. They would actually say on the top, Nick, Jess.
That's how it's been in the ones I've read. Yeah.
Yeah, and it wasn't even necessarily that it was in every other chapter. So it might have been evenly distributed, but not necessarily he said, she said, he said, she said. So overall, I really enjoyed this book. I read it in one night. After I got past that initial awkward feeling, I got into it. And like I said, I enjoyed the fact that you were getting the perspective of an author put into the book through an author, and it made me see and feel a lot of legitimacy in what they were talking about. And their relationship felt very real, and I quite enjoyed it.
Nice.
I do recommend it. And I would say this book is more of a jalapeno. I think you would say this is closer to your spice level.
Okay. Nice.
For sure. Yeah.
Well, with Slick Heat, I mean, how can it not be?
Right?
Where did your boobies hit at, Meghan?
I'm feeling pretty good about my boobies, given that you said yours is a poblano and mine came in earlier than I normally get in my book. I have page 23.
Nicely done.
Right? Thank you. And we didn't even call them boobs or breasts. We got real into it here. The one that convinced me it was totally worth investing in the short, tight red dress that frames my tits to absolute perfection.
Lovely.
She's talking about the revenge dress.
Yes. Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
I did not even recall seeing a mention of breast, to be honest,
Oh, no.
during the beginning of the book. So earlier today, as I was preparing my show notes, I had to go back and start pilfering through the first several pages. And finally, page 46, I found the boobies. His gaze slid appreciatively down her breasts to her legs.
Very nice. I win.
Yes, you do.
I win with my titties. I
With
win.
tits. Tits McGee.
McGee.
Any food in your book, Meghan?
A lot of the coffee. It was a
Yeah.
lot of coffee. Really, that was the one that they highlighted. Otherwise, it was just hotel food, kind of saying, oh, the offerings this morning weren't as good as yesterday. And it's like, yeah, because you've been snowed in and they're running out of stuff. Pretty basic like that. But I would say the coffee was the big one because she is a barista and she really enjoyed that as kind of like her way to treat herself. So she would get a nice coffee and then sit down to do her writing. There was some champagne and I want to say maybe some whiskey later on in the book as well. But it was the coffee, man. And you?
Coffee as well. Daisy, my heroine of the story, loves her kofifi. There was lots and lots of coffee. She was constantly consuming coffee.
If we're going to find in the Christmas books that we will have more of these kinds of beverages just because of the time of year. It's cold and people are getting coffees and hot chocolates and things like that. So we might find that that's in the next book as well.
There were also a lot of casseroles.
I love a good casserole. I know you don't.
I was going to get to that. So lots of casseroles, including enchilada casserole and French toast casserole, because Wade's mom recently died and all the ladies in town are constantly bringing him casseroles. And Daisy hates casseroles as much as I do. So I totally connected with her character on the love of coffee and the loathing of casseroles. Although I will say, I do like a French toast casserole. But in my head, I call it a breakfast bake because
Correct. I don't think that that's a casserole. I'm with you on that. That doesn't count.
Yeah. So
Because do you like an egg bake?
yeah, I like an egg bake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not a casserole.
Exactly. I like a frittata.
That's different.
Yeah. Romantic reminders for you, Meghan.
So my romantic reminder is something I didn't really talk about, but it goes back to the writing where they were talking about the miscommunications in the writing and things like that. One of the agents brings up the fact that most of these second chance romance books also have a grand gesture.
Oh.
So yeah, like at some point in time, in order to win the girl back or to win the guy back, there's a grand gesture, which you see in a lot of movies too, right?
Yeah.
And so I would say don't be afraid of the grand gesture with people that you love. It doesn't have to be a second chance romance thing, but like to plan something that is out of the ordinary and special for the person you love that reminds them they are the apple of your eye. So a grand gesture, it's nice once in a while.
I like that. And I never even thought about that plot point before, but yeah, grand gestures do happen in these romance novels.
Mm-hmm,
I like
exactly.
it. I like it a lot.
And for you?
My romantic reminder for Cowboy It's Christmas is to incorporate playful moments into your relationship. There's a really fun moment where Wade and Daisy are playing pool at the townie bar. And she's like, oops, my button broke, and gives him a nice eyeful of her Christmas red satin bra. And I thought it was fun and flirty, and she was able to distract him from the game and then kick his ass a little bit at the pool table. So I like a fun, flirty, distractive moment between partners.
He was like, Filbert, you put those away.
Was not his response.
Oh, okay.
What have you got coming up for your next book for Christmas in July, Megan?
So my next book is called Merry Christmas.
Say what?
Yeah, you heard me. Chris is Chris, as in a person's name, but without an H. So Chris. And moose, like the animal.
I'm so confused.
Merry Christmas. And let me explain real quick. I was telling my coworkers about one of our fairy books, and they've also heard about the Kraken book I read and the one about the Undine, and they think this is hilarious that there are so many different kinds of things out there. And I made the point that I like to pick the most outlandish things that I possibly can.
Yes.
And I was a little disappointed. My Christmas book I picked to begin with was very traditional. And one coworker said, you need to get like a moose romance. And I'm like, challenge accepted.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
So I had to do a little bit of digging until I decided this was the one I was going with, Merry Christmas. And I haven't told her yet that I'm doing this, so I'm going to spring this one on her later. A grumpy moose shifter and a joyful fox shifter, toy designers, must work together to save Christmas.
Second here.
You heard me.
Oh my God. Okay, start over again. I'm so sorry.
A grumpy moose shifter and a joyful fox shifter, toy designer, must work together to save Christmas. What could possibly go wrong? Keely Blake is a visionary toy designer whose creations overflow with whimsy and delight. When a mysterious job offer leads her to a remote, enchanting workshop, she seizes the chance to bring her imaginative toys to life, unaware that she's stepping into a world she believed only existed in fairy tales. Chris Sutton, the enigmatic CEO of North Star Toys, harbors a secret as immense as Christmas itself. As Santa Claus's chief of staff and a moose shifter, he's tasked with safeguarding the dwindling magic of the holiday season. The last thing he needs is the arrival of his fated mate, complicating his mission. Yet from the moment Keely bursts into his life, her creative spirit awakens something he thought he'd long lost.
I had to freaking mute myself because I was still like sniggering the whole time, but I couldn't breathe. I'm like, oh my God, shut up.
Oh, yeah.
Well, this'll be a read.
But what do you have, Nicole? Is it as good as Merry Christmas?
God, no. I feel really boring and I need to go back to the drawing board. I was like, I'm going to do a whole summer of Christmas cowboys. Oh my God. I can't even top what you just threw out there. How do you even find shit like that?
Don't challenge me. I will find it.
Oh my God, Megan. Oh God. Okay.
It's from a series, but I made sure it could be a standalone.
That's so important. Wait, there's more. Oh God. Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to gather myself. All right. I have A Tall, Dark Cowboy Christmas by Maisie Yates. Little backstory for this one. My husband and I, Bub, my husband, we were back in Wisconsin in April. And he was working in the building where he can go into work when we're in town because normally he works from home remotely. And he was getting some more water or something and happened to see a whole table of smut and sent me a picture. He's like, look, smut. And I was like, oh, grab me that and grab me that, but leave all the Debbie May Cumber behind.
You've had your share of that.
Yes. Okay, there's actually 2 books in here, and one is significantly shorter than the other. So I'm going to be real honest, Megan, because it's pretty girthy. I will probably read the shorter version in here, which is called Snowed In with a Cowboy. Christmas time in Gold Valley, Oregon means hot chocolate, snowy nights, and one very sexy cowboy holiday surprise. There's only one thing Chloe Nolan wants for Christmas this year, and he wears a cowboy hat and is completely off limits. When her mom married into the Reed family, Chloe found her calling, working with horses on the ranch. How could she risk that newfound stability by revealing her crush on her stepbrother, Tanner?
Oh.
But when Chloe and Tanner get snowed in on their way to a family gathering, it's just the chance to extinguish the flame that's been burning for too long. One night, one wish, one bed. She's the woman Tanner's always wanted and vowed he'd never touch. Yet when Chloe reveals her secret wish, all those years of pent-up longing erupt with life-changing force. Now it's Tanner's turn to take a risk and turn one magical Christmas night into the beginning of forever. I'm getting warning bells already.
Whoa. Okay, you thought you picked something tame? I'm not sure about this one.
Me either. We'll find out.
Oof. I'm going to tell you the one I really wanted to pick for my final fairy romance. I had read like little bits and pieces on Reddit with people being like, oh, this is a really good one. It's, really smutty. It's really this, it's really that. You can do it as a standalone. I'm like, awesome. And then I went and I read the actual synopsis on Amazon and I'm like, I can't read that. I just can't read that. And it was like a girl and like her 3 adopted brothers. And I was like, nope, no thanks. I was not expecting you to say her stepbrother.
I wasn't expecting it either till it came out of my mouth, and I was like, oh, okay, we're going there.
Okay.
Well, we haven't hit one of those yet, so.
No, I tried to avoid it. You just got tricked into it.
I did. That's what happens when you try to take shortcuts.
Oh, Lordy. Wow. All right. Well, with that, we got some taboo stuff coming up later, I guess.
I'm going to be curious as to what's spicier, the stepbrother sex or the shapeshifter mooses.
I feel like it could be a horse apiece, really. Yeah, I don't know. Wow. Oh, okay.
Until next time.
Well, yeah. Thanks for joining us today for Romance on the Rocks. We do have a buy us a coffee, which I know Nicole links in places, so feel free to check that out.
Yeah, buymeacoffee.com/romance on the rocks.
There you go. Please like, subscribe, and follow. And if you are a hopelessly romantic, bookish biddy like us, think about giving us a review on Apple iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you find your podcasts. Your support really means the world to us. Until next time, stay safe and know that you are loved.